Hello and welcome to the GrapeSEED Official Podcast. We have a new Teacher Says as our episode today. In this series, we ask many veteran GrapeSEED teachers a couple of questions about practical teaching tips or just good ideas for running a GrapeSEED program smoothly. Keep in mind that these are the opinions of the teachers themselves. They are sharing what they have learned has worked for them through years of self-reflection. Something that works for one teacher may not work for another. These tips are meant to give you ideas on what to do or to inspire your own journey of self-reflection. In this episode, you will hear from Aaron, Alina, Will, Bruno, and Matthew. Let's get started. Number 1. What was a teaching mistake you made in the past and how did you overcome it?
Oh no, there are so many. I think you can make an entire episode or two just on all the mistakes I've made. I'll share one that's maybe more broad and maybe useful to a variety of teachers in a variety of situations. You might be able to tell from me talking on this podcast, I'm naturally not a very animated person. My voice isn't that loud, and I can be very monotone. This is something I've been trying to work on, even before teaching GrapeSEED and teaching other curriculum. But even when I first started teaching GrapeSEED, I would get feedback about kind of the way I talk or sing songs, and then especially how I would read stories in the class was a little too boring and sometimes too quiet, even too quiet for the students to hear. So this is something I've been really trying to improve over the many years. And how I've improved is kind of how I really handle any problem is just by brute force. I hear the feedback from other teachers or GrapeSEED coaches that watched my lessons. And I would inquire about, okay, what are the specific areas that need to improve? And then also, what would dictate a success? What would I need to do, which would be kind of the stamp of approval? So then after I hear that, go into the next lesson and be mindful and just put in 100% effort into those areas. I might not feel very comfortable. It may feel really unnatural for me, but do something, put a lot of effort into it. And then after doing that, get the feedback again. Because maybe what I did, even if I put in a lot of effort, it might not have been good. So get that feedback again. If it's not good, then get, again, more feedback, change it for the next time. And then once it did get good, once I'm like, oh yes, the way you told that story, that was great. It doesn't end there because one success doesn't mean the long term is great. So I still needed to be very conscious about it. Just do it again and again and again. And it does get tiring. The one drawback of the brute force method is it gets very tiring after a while. But after doing this again and again, putting in lots of effort, eventually it does become second nature. And it's just something you do in the classroom and you don't really have to think about so much. So just to sum up my experience entirely, I knew my weakness, found out my weakness, got the feedback, and then put in 100% effort until it became natural.
Those who heard my previous interviews probably remember that I'm very demanding on myself. I often feel like I'm doing something wrong and I can do it better. So it's hard to say. But as I think, the main mistake was not to attach importance to the praise of students. So GrapeSEED has really changed my point of view. And now I see the results without any doubt.
This is actually before I taught GrapeSEED, but when I first was teaching English, after I came to Japan and I was teaching English, I actually spoke in Japanese sometimes to the children. And it took me a while to realize that it's really not helpful at all. For one, they can get it. If you think that they don't understand the English, there's always a way to explain it to them. They can get it. Even if they don't get it this time, you're going to say something and then next time they're going to get it. And the other thing is that by speaking in Japanese, you let them know that it's okay to speak in Japanese. And they say, oh, well, my teacher understands Japanese, so I can just speak in Japanese, and That's it. And so it discourages them from trying to find words in English and trying to find a way to express themselves. So I realized that, and now I really never speak Japanese in the classroom. And even with teachers, I speak in English. Even if they don't speak any Japanese, I speak to them in English. And if there are any children within a classroom from me, then I'll speak to them in English, and the parents as well.
Well, we all make mistakes. So I've made many mistakes, but I think I don't even know if it's a mistake, but it's more just the way I was teaching certain things is, for example, poems and big books and stories. And oftentimes I would be reading the story and then I would realize that I haven't looked at the kids in quite a while. And that's a common mistake, like everybody makes that mistake. And so I would literally have to remind myself all the time, just be like, all right, you only need to look at it for a second because you've done the poem Boy literally 2,000 times. So you don't need to look at it while you're doing it, So that's a mistake, and I still make it to this day, and I constantly have to remind myself.
Goodbye, my friends, goodbye. I'm sad to say goodbye. It was a good day, but now I will say goodbye, my friends, goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.